There's something also unique about your business that I'd love for you guys to talk to the audience about, and that's the modular building.
Yes.
Tell me about the build out. That's something that is very different about your business than other franchises.
Yeah, the building is part of the secret sauce to this operation. So it's designed again, everything thought through with efficiency and process and flows and how we move customers through to make sure that they get their food extremely quickly and that they get a consistent experience. The building is also part of the genius behind the building is that we can build it less expensively than a ground up stick build. We can save some money and have every bit the same quality or higher quality with the building. And because the startup costs are lower, it allows our prices to be lower as well and be competitive. So that's part of our secret sauce and something we're really excited about. We also deliver the building for franchisees with all of the equipment inside, which is pretty slick. So you get the exact same equipment, very good consistency that way, and takes a lot of headache off of franchisees to know that they're going to get a building that has everything in it that they need.
And one more thing about the building as well is the time to open shrinks a lot too. The time for us to prepare and to build this building and deliver it is less than it takes to build a traditional building. And so the simplicity of it and the cost of it and the time it saves is just all benefits to our franchisees.
Part of the reason for that speed is that we can be prepping the ground and the landscaping at the same time the building is being produced. And then it goes from all the groundwork to it looking like a finished product. What customers see is groundwork being done, and then the next day there's a building that's finished.
It gets delivered and
property.
installed.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Where is the ideal place for you to place one of these buildings, location wise?
Yeah, so we're looking at multiple options there. So we think there's great options in just corners of parking lots by grocery stores, for example, would be a phenomenal place. But we're also looking in a variety of shopping centers would be pretty ideal. There are other things that we'd like to explore, like, how would it work around a fitness hub, outside of a gym. But to start, we're looking mostly around major shopping centers that have grocery and a lot of traffic going through.
That there are places that we want to be, or that franchises may want to be, franchisees that maybe doesn't have an open piece of land available. And so we are open to strip mall end caps with drive-through capability, things like that in certain circumstances. But the ideal situation would be our modular building in the corner of a grocery store or something similar.
I had a fun meeting just yesterday, Frank, with a large real estate group. They're not massive, but they have $5.5 billion of real estate that they own. And we told them what we were looking for in the concept and the size of parcel. Oftentimes in commercial real estate, you need a full acre that's what a lot of places want to sell you or lease you. We need a quarter or a third. And this group just said, this is exactly what we need in so many locations. We're willing to parcel off the properties for you. We're willing to give you the size that you need because the community is asking us for this. That's really exciting. It's exciting to see that even real estate groups are saying, yep, this is the next thing we need in our developments.
Yeah. The other thing I'm hearing that I hope emerging founders that are watching or listening to this podcast can glean from our conversation is that what I'm hearing is that you're really in the simplicity business.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
From the menu being simple to the build out being simple to the drive-through exclusivity, everything is about speed, clean, quick. And you're doing this, everything with your brand is all consistent from build out to how everything's being served. And that's a great lesson for entrepreneurs because wouldn't you guys agree that sometimes we get caught up in the complexity and we want to be everything to everybody?
Yeah.
And when we want to be everything to everybody, we don't serve anyone.
Right.
Tyler, from a marketing perspective, how do you convey that also to the customers in your brand messaging?
Yeah, what I like about this is that because we're not everything to everyone, we can focus on specific messaging. We can focus on really three main pillars: fresh, fast, and affordable. And really, because we have simplicity in our messaging, it resonates. It's not something where someone has to understand a complex messaging campaign. It is very simple, and they get it. They get it from the first time they see an ad to the first time they go through our drive-through. They understand what we're all about. And in the beginning, before we had a location open, we had others telling us, you need to do this, or you need to do that, or you need to offer this, or it needs to be like this. And we had a lot of discussion about who are we exactly, and what do we actually believe in, and what is our identity. And I'm so glad that you're picking up on that, because simplicity is absolutely part of our core establishment, our core beliefs, and we'll keep it that way as well. And when and if we do roll out new items, new offerings, they're very well thought out, and they stick to that same core simplicity mindset.
Yeah. And Mark, let me ask you, when it comes to training, if you could kind of elaborate on it, because I assume the simplicity model is all the way through to training and support to make things super simple for our franchise owners.
Well, we think it's one of the key things that will make Salad Spot very scalable for franchisees, that they can come in and they can learn the model very quickly. While I think it'd be hard for somebody to just see our building and be able to copy us, when we train our franchisees, it'll be very fast for them to see this is very doable. They can bring people on board to manage a location for them. They can train them quickly. They'll get the concept. Our employees become expert salad makers very, very quickly. They do a great job. And we've even thought through, each food that we prepare to go into the food. Of course, it has to be fresh. It has to be just fantastic quality. In the salad business, if your lettuce isn't fresh, you're in trouble.
Absolutely.
But we've thought through all of these processes, and we continue to refine every little thing we can to give a little bit better product and to make it a little more simple and a little faster to get it to our customers. And we've seen great results. Every month we make really, really fine refinements to the business that have been fun to see the results of. And so from a training perspective, we're very confident that our franchisees will get up to speed fast. Our operating manual has what's needed in there for people to get up to speed. And we're so passionate about it, we can hardly stop talking about what it is and why it's so cool. Yeah. So I think our franchisees definitely feel the contagious bug of excitement that we have.
And I think franchises can sometimes be intimidating, and we don't want that to be the case here. We want this to be simple. Not just appear simple, but actually to be simple. I mean, and grasp things quickly and be able to have confidence in running their businesses right out of the gate.
Yeah, and a lot of times you will find that franchisees, this is the first time they've ever owned their own business.
Yeah.
I know when I got involved in franchising, maybe I didn't have the right expectations, but I just assumed, one, people were going to be like me. That's not always true, right? And then the second thing is I expected I had just a false expectation that people had some business sense and maybe past history of running a business. And it turns out by far the majority of my franchise owners had never owned a business before. So I was doing more business coaching than anything else. Right. And that it kind of goes back to trying to keep it simple for them. Do you guys anticipate allowing for single unit franchise operators or multi-unit franchise owners strictly? What's sort of your
anticipation on? Yeah, we'll do both. Our first agreement looks like it'll be an area agreement with multiple units, but we have others who are looking at single unit franchise opportunities, and we're open to both. We think both have a place in what we're doing.
And what about what's the investment range to open a location?
Yeah, it's about $600 to $850 to open a location.
And there are some variables in there.
Yeah,
but that's the range.
Yeah, there's some variables that would have some that contemplates some money to operate over time, not just
working capital.
For working capital and supplies for the first 6 or 7 months, that sort of thing.
Okay. And how big is one of the module units?
Yeah, they're not very big. So our building in Logan is about 640 square feet, and we have additional models in play that will go up to about 850 square feet for areas that have much higher traffic than Logan has. Logan's not a big restaurant town. We're opening our next ones in much bigger restaurant towns, and we're going to need a couple hundred more square feet because the traffic will be higher.
Sure. And do you guys decide on how closely you'll put locations to one another? How big is the territory?
Yep, great question. We're protecting populations of 100,000 people. So the general territory size will be populations of 100,000 people.
All right, cool. What's been your biggest surprise since you've embarked on this whole franchising thing?
Man,
There's been
Go
a few,
ahead.
yeah. So I think one of the things that surprised me, I guess a couple of things. We had a very good opening day response. And maybe it wasn't a surprise, it was a pleasant surprise, right? It was, what's it going to be like? How many people are going to show up? And we had a line through the drive-through, through the parking lot, out onto Main Street, and then through an intersection to go through our drive-through on our opening day. We even had the police show up and ask us, "Hey, what's going on here? What are you doing?" And we just let them know, "Hey, we're opening our restaurant. Today's the opening day. You're welcome to go through if you'd like."
We had so many people lined up hours before we opened that
Yeah.
we actually opened an hour earlier than we
Yeah.
announced that we'd be open to try to relieve traffic from Main Street because it was just way down the street, and we had we had everybody in there trying to keep up with the demand. It was a lot of fun.
So that was a pleasant surprise. As the marketing person responsible for making sure people come through the drive-through, that was a nice surprise.
That's awesome. Mark, what about you? What's been a big surprise for you since you got involved in franchising?
One of the cool things for me has been working with people in the business and seeing what can be done with training employees and saying, "Hey, I know this is your first job or one of your first jobs, but if you know how to take care of a customer, even when it's stressful, if you can be kind, even when the demand is high and there's a long line of people wanting to get through, what that does for your future career." I get excited about that kind of thing. And it's been so fun to read the Google reviews come through and see how many customers say, "These are the nicest employees," or people come up to me when I'm at my kids' ball games and they say, "Where do you get your employees? They are the nicest fast food employees I've ever met." And I think that's exciting to see that can be done, that can be accomplished. And I think that sets up both our company as well as our employees for future success, whether they stay with Salad Spot, and we hope some of them do. We hope some of them grow right with our company and step in and help us take those skills into taking care of our franchisees. But it also translates into just creating a great brand and a great future for those employees who can take those skills on to their next career.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.